Hi, Dr. P here to tell you what you'll discover if you take this class. We're going to start about what game design is and what it isn't because there are many misunderstandings. We're going to discuss the best ways to learn to design games. You may be surprised. Starting out with software and programming is actually a bad idea, and people who design games, whether it's video games or tabletop games, start out by teaching people tabletop games. We're going to discuss how you get started, the alternatives, what to do if you don't want to do tabletop games. There are some exercises to help you get going. I'm going to describe the process of design with diagrams and lists, a sort of framework. We'll talk about the heart of game design, which is playtesting, not ideas, not cleverness, not meaningfulness or art. We'll discuss what makes a game good, and of course the answer is usually it depends, but we'll go into detail about what it is that it depends on. We'll discuss making a prototype. We'll briefly discuss level design, a game design portfolio, things like that. And then there's about 10 hours of bonus material, which are some talks that I've given at various game conferences and conventions. Is this for you? It is not meant to entertain you, it's meant to inform you. I am not a comedian. I give you the straight stuff. This is a class for people who are learning game design, not for people who are already highly experienced. People who are experienced may learn something, but it's the people who are just starting out who will learn a lot. It's not a seated class with limited enrollment, so there are certain things I can't do. There are assignments, but I will not be able to grade your assignments. I will not be able to help you individually. That is how Udemy classes work. It's a class for both video and tabletop game design. I tend to talk a lot more about video design, but the tabletop is there because that's the best way to learn. If you're a vidiot and think that video games owe nothing to tabletop games, or if you're a table dope and think that video games have nothing to do with tabletop games, then you might be unhappy with this approach. It's about game design, not game development. It's not about programming, it's not about art, not sound, not producing. I don't teach you any particular software or programming, because that's not what game design is. I talk fairly slowly sometimes because I want you to think about what I say. Game design is really all about thinking. Also, I have pretty strong views, and you may not always agree with them. It's a long class. It's something like 14 hours of material made for the class, and then another 10 hours of bonus material. Most of the lectures are intended to be self-contained, so there is occasional repetition, but after all, repetition is an important part of learning. I need to say something about pricing. The class is priced about the same as a book. It's about the equivalent of a book. This is much less than the recommendation of Udemy, which would be well over $100, but that's because I don't participate in the Udemy marketing, which involves 75% discounts and $10 offers and so on. None of that will ever happen with this class. There will not be deep discounts any more than there are deep discounts for books. The class may evolve some. I may add things to the class as time passes, although they're more likely to be videos than the screencast with the slides. Most of the class is screencast with slides. I don't use slides when I teach face-to-face, or I rarely use slides. But in the context of an online audiovisual class, the slides provide an anchor for the students. And at the very end of the class, I string all the slides together in one downloadable file, one big downloadable file. That's your notes in effect. And of course, as the class evolves, Udemy may change their policy so that I have to change the pricing, which would be to increase it, not to decrease it. That's already happened once with another class. And the last thing I want to say is this class is not a rehash of my book, Game Design. Some of the same topics are covered, some are not covered at all in the book. For example, the evolution of video and tabletop games. Some are not covered much in this class. For example, level design, which has its own chapter in the book, but I will make a separate small class about level design.